about cracking the border down. But if we don't secure the border and enforce our laws, there's nothing more we can do on immigration until those two things happen first.
Two more questions here.
What's your feeling on renewable energy issues such as algae fuel and things like that?
Questions about renewable energy. I'm for renewable energy. I'm for nuclear energy. I'm for oil. I'm for gas. I'm for coal. I'm for all of the above.
Yeah.
And if we don't do all of the above, we'll never get there. Our plan was to take the federal share of the royalties for additional oil and gas exploration and pump it into renewables to help speed up the development of renewables. But if we don't do all of the above, we're going backwards. And right now, they've shut down the Gulf. You can't drill for anything in the continental United States on land. They're shutting off coal. I was with a bunch of coal operators the other night. You can't get a permit out of the EPA. And they're strangling our energy resources to the point when the economy does begin to improve, we're not going to have the energy we need.
Last question.
Yes, sir.
How bad does the border have to get before someone does take some action?
Go ahead, yeah. Go ahead, you take it.
Just a couple of things on the border. Being on the Homeland Security Committee, I deal with this all the time. We obviously have been hiring more Border Patrol agents and trying to hire more customs enforcement officials, more drones, more various sensors and other equipment along the border to help us better secure it. But we need a commitment from ICE, Immigration's Customs Enforcement, and they can't do it alone. And I'll tell you, I meet with Secretary Napolitano periodically because I'm on the committee, and I've raised the issue with her about the state of Arizona. What we saw there was an absolute cry for help. This is a state that has 400,000 illegal immigrants in it, 400,000. And they want to allow their law enforcement to complement federal law enforcement efforts on the border. And I've read through the law before some others who condemned it had ever read it. But essentially, what they want to be able to do is assist federal law enforcement in enforcement. And for that effort, they're being sued by the U.S. Department of Justice. While at the same time, these sanctuary cities that either forbid or prohibit or discourage their law enforcement from assisting ICE from doing their job, they get a pass. Now, what's wrong with this picture? We need a much more layered approach and much more collaborative efforts between federal, state, and local law enforcement to engage in what we call interior enforcement, while providing more of the barriers and security on the border. In fact, I'm not convinced that the administration is committed to physical barriers, fencing, where necessary. I don't believe they're that committed to it, and it's something I'm concerned about. In fact, and I raised the issue with the secretary to the extent that I asked her what the difference was between the Arizona law and the current federal program where we train local law enforcement. I said, I'm trying to understand the difference, and she said the only difference is priority. To which one of my colleagues from Texas about jumped out of his chair and said, there is no difference. The priorities are set by the administration administratively, not in the law. There is no real difference. So you're suing a state over this law that they've enacted to help us enforce law enforcement, and you'll train these same people voluntarily. If they come to you, you'll train them. But now we're suing them. This makes absolutely no sense. And you couple that with an employer with an employee verification system that makes sense, biometric IDs for people who come into the work site that are tamper-proof. That's a big part of the issue too. Those are the two things we must do, I think, in the short and medium term. So, anything? Well, first, I guess. Well, last question, Ken.
Can we keep our party focused on the fiscal issues that are really important to the future of America?
The question is, can we keep our party focused on the fiscal issues that are important to the country? I'll tell you what, we've had a lot of unity in our party over the last 18 months. And I think our leadership team's done a pretty good job. But I got to give a lot of credit to Barack Obama and to Nancy Pelosi for driving our members into my loving arms. Listen, it's the #1 issue in the country. And I don't care what kind of Republican you are, everybody's on the same page. We're really in pretty good shape.
All right.
Thank you all for being here.
And thank you, John.